Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, they tell us the weather, at least here in my area, that we've got about 3 more days of unseasonably warm weather. Not super hot, but just unseasonably warm. And then we'll take a real quick turn to the opposite direction, and we're going to have some unseasonably cold weather because that's just how we do it here in the Ozarks. Do you know that last month, the official number, because we're now in a new month now, last month, the official number that was recorded and interacted with by the Border Patrol crossing the border illegally on the southern border alone was over 250,000, somewhere between 260 and 270,000 people crossed the border illegally in the ongoing invasion of our nation. And of course, again, those are just the numbers that they tell us and that they admit that they actually made interaction with. That's not all the other people that just snuck across and was never, they got by and never was caught. That's not the people flying planes into the United States or coming in on boats at the ports. That's not the people that crossed at the northern border with Canada. That's just the southern one. I thought I'd throw that out there. Dianne Feinstein, I know this is kind of old news now. A few days ago, she passed away. I'm not going to make too much of a joke about her. I mean, it's still, she's still a person. Well, maybe she is. I don't know. Maybe she's one of them reptilian people, depending on what you think. But anyways, she died. And, well, they've got to replace her because she was a sitting senator. And the word on the street, the scuttle is that it's a choice between Oprah Winfrey or Meghan Markle. Oh my goodness. This country is a joke, folks. It's a joke. It's like some really weird low quality movie comedy. It's a joke. That's all we are anymore. They put a stopgap or passed a stopgap bill, so the government's going to run for another 6 more weeks. Yay, I know you're all excited about that. Now, they said that they didn't continue the funding for Ukraine in that 6 weeks, but Zelensky is apparently, negotiating with the U.S. government to somehow continue that funding because, heaven forbid, we stop sending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine every week. Yeah. So anyways, there's all that. I mean, there's other things going on, but my goodness, this past week I've been so busy. I haven't had a lot of time to sit and consume news and things that's going on. I haven't. Maybe I'll catch up, maybe not. I mean, it's kind of nice sometimes not just consuming as much information and staying really so busy that you don't have the time to do that. Speaking of this week, I stopped by the local farm and home store that I've mentioned to you before. If you new and you don't know what I'm talking about, I live way out in the sticks, and there's this old-fashioned, old-time little farm and home store, hardware type store. You can buy animal feed, get your tires fixed, and buy nuts and bolts and things like that. The building's been there for 60, 70 years. The guys that run it are just as old-fashioned and hillbilly as you could ever get. And there's always, when you go in there, I mean, they literally have chairs sitting around in the aisles so that when you go there, people just sit around and talk. And good people, just all good God-fearing, conservative people that's always in there. So the other day I stopped by there to pick up a couple of things, and there was a few guys in there. And to my knowledge, because I've talked to all of them before, they don't come across as the prepper type like you and I. They're not like you and I, where they're consuming this stuff, where they're really focused on this stuff, where they're actively on a daily basis preparing for this stuff. And they were talking, and I kind of let them just talk mostly. I mean, I would interject a little here and there, but they all agreed that they believe that America is collapsing. I mean, these were things that they were talking about, that we are in a state of collapse, and that they all believe that it's going to happen between now and the next election. Most of them believe that it'll probably happen between now and the first of the year, spring, to kind of get things set up so that the next election can either be manipulated or not happen or whatever. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is this is a perspective, I think, from an average Americans, that they're not far lefties. They're not, big city folks that's just getting their Starbucks and going to work. These are just what I would consider just regular old American, the kind of Americans that really built this nation. Most of them are farmers. People come in there, electricians and plumbers and stuff to get the stuff, because there's the only hardware store out here in the middle of nowhere that you could pick things like that up. And so they're that segment of American society that's really forgotten about, but it's what made us, in a lot of ways, who we are. And so considering that, and that they believe that we are in a collapse. I mean, they were all saying, they're like, man, we all better really be stocking up. Now, I don't know how much those folks are stocking up or how much they are preparing, but every single one of them, there were several, I think 4 or 5, we're all saying the same thing, that we as a country, we are watching us fall apart and collapse. And they believe that there won't be another election or another legitimate election, and that it's all downhill from here. And I'm not saying this again to be like doomsday. I'm saying this because this is I think a pretty good sampling of at least middle America, just the average middle American person. And if they think that it's that point, they may not be consuming as much stuff as you and I are. They may not be watching videos like this and consuming all the up-to-date pertinent information that's indicating we are in a collapse. And yet they also feel it. They also see it. They each were pointing out things that's going on, and they said, it's done. We're done. We're done as a country. And so we have to start preparing in that way. They were talking about that. They have to start gearing themselves up and figuring out how we're going to, survive. All of them were saying things like, well, it's a good thing that we live out where we are, because, our grandparents and great-grandparents and stuff went through a Great Depression. The ones that lived out like this, they were dirt poor, but they survived because, of the land around us. They hunted and fished and grew their own stuff and raised things. And again, dirt poor, but at least they survived it pretty well because of the location of where they were at. And so they all said, that's a reason why we live like this. We'll go out and we'll hunt deer and catch fish and grow vegetables more and, that kind of stuff. And we'll ride this one out. We'll survive. Kind of like the old country song, country's boys will survive. But I wanted to share that with you because I think sometimes, at least some of us, in the back of our minds, we're like, am I taking this stuff too seriously? Am I allowing it to get to me to the point that it's just all I think about, and maybe I'm only seeing the negative. Maybe it's not quite as bad as what I see. And here we have a group of Americans that are just as about as regular Americans as you can get. And they're saying the same thing. They're saying the same thing. So I think that there is something to it. I believe that this is the direction we're going. You can't hardly get online now and not find someone talking about it now, even on large platforms and large channels and people that have a much larger voice now. They are talking about it. We are experiencing a collapse. This thing of seeing our country as a joke, look who we have as the president. We've got Fetterman up in Pennsylvania. I mean, my goodness, we're going to put Oprah Winfrey or Meghan Markle in as a senator. It's a joke. This is what happens in collapsing society. It's to demoralize us. It's to bring us down. It's to kind of break that pride, because everything's collapsing anyways. And so as we continue to see this country become more and more of a clown show, we have to know that it's because it's becoming closer and closer to the end. And that's why we have to get ready. Is there a way that you and I And I'm assuming when I say you and I, most of you probably, aren't super wealthy people. So is there a way for the average person to really guarantee their safety and guarantee that you'll survive this? Of course not. Most of us aren't billionaires. But doing these things to prepare, getting ourselves mentally in a place that we can, grasp it and to ride through it. And then, of course, the spiritual, because this is all spiritual warfare in the end. I think it gives us a much better position than any other people. And so it's like an insurance policy. You need to be actively getting yourselves ready, actively wrapping your head around that we are going to, probably from this point forward, it's just going to keep getting worse, and we have to prepare for that. That's not a doomsday message. It's just a reality of things. And at some point in the future, could it get better? Yes. Is this the final end? Possible. But we have to prepare for all different contingencies. And right now, I think the thing that we're preparing for is just a complete collapse of everything, and how that will happen, who knows. What will be? Will it be the financial stuff? Will that be the thing that kicks it off? Will it be a World War III? Will it be another pandemic? We don't know. Could be a little bit of all of it. But we have to be preparing for that. We have to actively, on a daily basis, be thinking of things. It doesn't mean it has to consume your every waking hour, but what are things that you could do? Set goals for the week, whether it's, acquiring more food or gear or stuff, training, learning a new skill, talking with people in your community to try to come up with better things that you can do to come together in a stronger tribe. Whatever it is, you need to be doing it, and you need to be actively on a regular basis, because I think the end is near. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order. Time to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.